This is Battle for States, a show where we track elections and their impact very closely. 4 assembly seats in Mizoram and 20 assembly seats of Chhattisgarh voted today, marking the start of a crucial round of elections in 5 states of India. Nearly 71% of voters came out and voted in Chhattisgarh. Remember, the sensitive Bastar region, where 12 out of the 20 seats are located, also voted today. And those who came out did so braving calls of boycott of polls by Naxal groups, threats to candidates and incidents of violence in the run-up to polls. Voting, however, remained calm in the state. The figures of the voter turnout that we have are based on preliminary data released by the Election Commission. More updated data will be released tomorrow. Former Chief Minister and BJP leader Raman Singh and Congress State President Deepak Baij were among the prominent contenders in this phase of polls. In the previous election, the Congress saw a landslide victory in Chhattisgarh by winning 17 out of the 20 seats that voted today, while the BJP had managed to secure just 2 seats. In fact, it was this strong start in the first phase of the election that played a crucial role in the Congress's significant win in the 2018 assembly elections in Chhattisgarh. Meanwhile, Mizoram reported a voter turnout of 76% as opposed to 81% turnout in 2018. But these are preliminary figures, and the updated figures will be out tomorrow. The contest in Mizoram is basically between the ruling Mizo National Front, the Zoram People's Movement, the Congress and the BJP. In 2018, the MNF returned to power in Mizoram after a decade, defeating the Congress in its last bastion in the northeast, winning 26 of the 40 seats and also relegating the Congress to the 3rd spot. Now, the Congress that's hoping to stage a comeback has talked about protecting the Mizo way of life. Was that a factor today? We'll talk about all of that, but first, let's go across to my colleague Anurag Dwary, who is in Chhattisgarh. Yes, Anurag, so we know that you've had a very active day today. Tell us, you are in one of the most volatile, sensitive areas of the state. This is the southern part of Chhattisgarh. Some of the poorest districts of the country are here. Tell us, what are the changes you've noticed and what is on people's minds?
Yes, Vasudha, we travel to Jagdalpur, Chitrakoot and areas like Dantewada, Sukma today itself. And usually we have seen a bipolar contest here in Chhattisgarh, but this time, especially in the Bastar region, a party emerging out of Sarv Adivasi Samaj, that is founded by a senior Congress leader Arvind Netam, because in recently Bhanu Pratappur by-polls, this newly founded party has scored more than 23,000 votes. So it's a matter of concern for both the BJP and the Congress. But apart from that, I would like to tell you, the incidents of violence in this particular phase of elections here in Bastar. 4 security personnel were injured. I have just jotted it down in Sukma. And apart from that, an encounter also broke out between Maoist and the security forces in Padera, which comes under Kanker district this afternoon. The clash broke between the Maoist and the BSF and the DRG personnel who were on area domination duty. And also District Reserve Guard in Durma. This has happened in Durma, which comes under Konta Assembly, where Cabinet Minister Kawasi Lakhma is contesting the elections. And there was a gunfire between Naxalites and the District Reserve Guards. And one of our colleagues, Vikas, was also, was there, and he was in the middle of the crossfire there in Konta. But everybody is safe now. So there were around 4 or 5 incidents of violence. One incident also happened between Tadmetla and Duled, where CRPF there was a gunfight broke out between CRPF and the Naxals. And in Dantewada, one ID was recovered by CRPF. So more or less it was peaceful. But as I said, the maximum voter turnout was in Khairagarh as of the preliminary data coming from the election commission, and the minimum was in Bijapur. But around 40%, but that too in the urban areas of Bijapur, because in the villages of Bijapur, like a few villages of Bijapur like Marubaka and Timapur Pusbaka, there were only 4 or 3 voters. So in most of these villages in Bijapur, the complete village was empty, empty despite the security forces camping there. So nobody actually turned out and voted. So that is also a matter of concern that around 60-65 camps. You were asking about the changes what I felt between 2018 and now. So many security camps are there in Bastar region now, but still the roads are poor. The tribal population, they have complained that they're not getting their dues for their minor forest produce, because remember the Chhattisgarh government is always saying that they are now buying minor forest produce on minimum support price MSP. They have declared MSP for minor forest produce, but most of the voters, they are saying that they are not receiving the money. Vasudha,
right. Thank you, Anurag, for those interesting details. My colleague Anurag Dwary speaking on the importance of forest produce and, of course, the incidents of violence that took place today. Thank you, Anurag, for joining us. So now, data from Chhattisgarh examined in detail by my colleague Mayank Mishra has some very interesting points. During the last round of voting in the 20 seats of Chhattisgarh that voted today, 10 of them saw a decrease in voter turnout, while incumbents managed to retain their seats in 7 of them. But there were changes in 3 constituencies. In 9 constituencies, there was an increase in turnout, leading to incumbents losing their seats to challengers. The question now arises, and I want to bring in our guest and political analyst Ajoy Bose here. Thank you, Mr. Bose, for joining us. Tell us, how much does voter turnout matter in Chhattisgarh? Because we're talking about the Naxal hotbed here. You know, there have been instances of violence. There were calls of boycott. So, how much does this voter turnout matter in this phase of elections in Chhattisgarh?
Well, I think overall, if we look at today's voting, I think it's significantly more than 2018, if I remember correctly. And although I'm sure in some pockets there are probably very few voters right in the heart of the Naxalite bastion, the fact of the matter is that 70%, 71% of voting in Bastar is very, very good and very, very heartening. And I think that it means that, the democratic process, which the Maoists, this particular brand of Maoists who are against, is ultimately triumphing.
Right.
And I think that, without particularly muscular efforts, but through development, through infrastructure development, particularly roads and things, the Maoist, influence in these areas is certainly on the way. There is no question about it. We've been hearing reports about this from some time now. And I think that over a period of time, they are losing public support. So I think we all need to be happy about this, that the democratic process is winning. And the fact that a part of this must, the sort of congratulations must go to the incumbent government, Mr. Bhupesh Bagel's government, because there is no question that in these past 5 years, if things had actually worsened, then the Maoists would have gained in strength. But the very fact that the Maoist menace has lessened, I think it's basically very good for the country, because as you know, Chhattisgarh was one area where the Maoists actually created the maximum havoc, and very senior political leaders like Vidyacharan Shukla lost his life. And so I think it's overall, I think the results, meaning the polling figures, are something to be, I think, sort of rejoiced about.
For joining us. That was Ajoy Bose joining us on NDTV to talk about the importance of the voter turnout in the first phase of Chhattisgarh polls, the Naxal hotbed. Now, let's go across to my colleague Ratnadip Choudhury to get updates from Mizoram, the other state that voted today. Ratnadip, tell us about the polling in the state today. Something that has been on people's minds here is if the Congress has been reduced to a spend force, and will the BJP actually make a mark in Mizoram, or is it largely going to be an MNF versus ZPM?
Well, the polling, like previous years, have been very peaceful in Mizoram. As of now, what we have picked up from our sources in EC is that about 80% polling has been recorded in Mizoram. This percentage might go up actually, because from remote areas data is still being collated at this moment. But what is important to note, right from the morning we did see a large turnout, particularly of young voters between 18 to 40 years. You have 60% of the voters are actually of that age group, so they are a decision maker in these elections, and it was largely a fight between the ruling Mizo National Front and the new regional political force, the Mizoram People's Movement, and it is going to be a very keen contest between these two parties. For the Congress, it was a battle for survival. Whether Congress is able to hold on to its vote bank, that will be something to watch out for, and whether that vote banks actually translate into winnability or winning seats for the Congress, that is the only way the Congress can come back to power in Mizoram. Although they see Mizoram as one point from where they can start winning elections in the northeast, where before Prime Minister Modi came to power, the Congress was a very potent political force. Talking about BJP did try by putting up more candidates, but BJP still has miles to go when it comes to Mizoram, a Christian dominated state. But BJP might increase its tally. Remember, in the last election it opened its account in Mizoram for the first time by winning one seat. So now all eyes will be on the results on December 3rd.